Princess Hana stood in the Grand Council chamber, her silver robes shimmering under the crystal lights. The massive room felt cold tonight, colder than usual. Around the curved table sat 12 figures she had trusted with her life. General Minji, who taught her sword fighting as a child, Advisor Yuna, who helped her write her first diplomatic treaty, Commander Junho, who once took an assassin's blade meant for her. But something was wrong. Their eyes avoided hers. Their hands rested too close to their weapons. "Sister," came a voice from behind her. Prince Taemin stepped from the shadows, his ceremonial armor gleaming black and gold. "You look surprised." Hana's heart dropped. Her younger brother wore the crown that belonged to their father, the crown that should have been hers when their parents died in the war 3 months ago. "Taemin, what is this?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. General Minji stood up slowly. The woman who once braided Hana's hair before battle now drew her plasma sword. "Princess Hana, you are charged with treason against the Zilithian Empire." "Treason?" Hana stepped backward. "What treason?" "You want peace with the lesser races," Taemin said, walking closer. "You want to spare the humans, the Kretal, the Nexari. You would make us weak." Hana's mind raced. She remembered the secret meeting last week, the plans she had found in her father's private files, the lists of planets marked for cleansing, billions of innocent lives scheduled to die simply because they were not Zilithian. "Those beings have families," she said, "children. They feel pain just like us." "They are insects," Commander Junho spat, "obstacles to our destiny." The other council members nodded. Hana saw hatred in their eyes, not for enemies, but for her, for daring to show mercy. "The council has voted," General Minji announced. "Prince Taemin will rule, the lesser races will burn, and you, Princess Hana, will die for your weakness." Explosions suddenly shook the palace. Through the tall windows, Hana saw fires blooming across the capital city. Her loyal guards were fighting Taemin's soldiers in the streets below. People who believed in her were dying. "Kill her," Taemin ordered. Hana ran. She sprinted across the polished floor as plasma bolts sizzled past her head. The secret door behind the throne activated under her palm print. She had discovered these ancient passages as a child, playing hide-and-seek with Taemin when they still loved each other. The narrow tunnel was dark and dusty. She could hear shouting behind her, boots on stone. Her fingers found the data crystal hidden in her robes, the evidence of her family's planned genocide, proof that could save billions of lives if she could get it to the right people. The tunnel branched in 3 directions. She chose the left path, the one leading to the old spaceport. Behind her, the palace shook with more explosions. The crystal lights flickered and died. In the darkness, Princess Hana ran toward an uncertain future. Everyone she trusted had betrayed her. Her own brother wanted her dead. But somewhere in the galaxy, innocent people needed saving. She would not let them down. Even if she had to do it alone, the tunnel exit opened into chaos. Ships screamed overhead, firing at each other. The night sky burned orange and red. Hana pulled her hood up and disappeared into the crowd of fleeing civilians. Her old life was over. Her new one had just begun. The escape pod screamed through the atmosphere like a falling star. Inside, Princess Hana gripped her seat as alarms blared and sparks flew from damaged controls. The small craft had taken hits during her escape, and now the engines were failing. Through the cracked viewport, she saw a brown, dusty world below. No cities, no spaceports, just rocks and mining equipment scattered across empty valleys. The pod's computer spoke in a broken voice. "Emergency landing, systems failing, brace for impact." The crash came hard. Metal twisted and groaned as the pod carved a deep furrow in the red dirt. Hana's head struck something solid, and darkness took her. Hours later, Jinwoo Park wiped sweat from his forehead as he guided his salvage crawler across the wasteland. The big machine crunched over loose rocks, its metal arms ready to grab anything valuable. He had been working these asteroid mining fields for 3 years, alone except for his AI companion and the occasional supply ship. Then he saw the smoke. "What the hell?" he muttered, steering toward the crash site. His scanner showed metal fragments scattered across half a mile. At the center lay a twisted chunk of technology he had never seen before. The design was sleek, almost organic looking. Definitely not human. Jinwoo climbed down from his crawler and approached carefully. The pod's hull had split open like a broken egg. Inside, something moved. He froze. It looked like a person, but different. Taller than humans, with pale blue skin and silver hair. Strange symbols glowed faintly on her torn clothing. Blood, at least he thought it was blood, trickled from a cut on her forehead. "Hey," he called softly. "You okay in there?" The being's eyes fluttered open. They were large and golden, unlike anything he had ever seen. She tried to speak, but the words sounded like music mixed with static. Her translator device lay broken beside her. Most people would have called the authorities or run away. This was first contact with an alien species, after all, but Jinwoo just saw someone hurt and alone on a world that could kill you in a dozen ways. He carefully lifted her from the wreckage. She was light, like her bones were hollow. Her golden eyes tracked his movements, showing intelligence and fear. When he carried her toward his crawler, she did not struggle. "Easy there," he said gently. "I'm going to help you." His mining station was small but comfortable. One bedroom, a kitchen, a workshop filled with spare parts and half-finished projects. He laid the injured alien on his bed and grabbed his medical kit. Jinwoo had learned basic field medicine during his military service. Broken bones, cuts, burns, the basics were the same for most living things. He cleaned her wounds with antiseptic and wrapped them in clean bandages. Her skin felt warm to the touch, and her pulse seemed steady. The alien slept for 2 days. Jinwoo checked on her regularly, bringing water and simple food. He did not try to contact anyone. Something about her seemed fragile, like a bird with a broken wing. She needed safety, not interrogation. On the 3rd morning, she woke up fully. Her golden eyes met his brown ones across the small room. She sat up slowly, testing her injuries. Then she did something unexpected. She bowed her head in gratitude. Jinwoo smiled and offered her a cup of coffee. "Welcome to Kepler Station," he said. "Population 2. She did not understand his words yet, but she understood his kindness. In a galaxy that had shown her only betrayal, this human stranger offered help without asking for anything in return. For the first time since fleeing her homeworld, Princess Hana felt safe. Hana's translator finally started working on her 4th day at the station. The small device had been damaged in the crash, but Jinwoo managed to fix it using spare parts from his workshop. When the familiar hum returned, she felt a mix of relief and dread. Now she could understand what this human was saying. Now she would have to tell him the truth. "Thank you," were her first words in his language. Her voice came out softer than expected. Jinwoo looked up from his breakfast of instant noodles and smiled. "You're welcome. Feeling better?" She nodded, then pulled out the data crystal she had been hiding in her robes. The small device glowed, blue in her palm. "I need to show you something. About your people." "My people?" Jinwoo set down his chopsticks. "What about humans?" Hana activated the crystal. Holographic images filled the small room. Star maps appeared first, showing human colonies scattered across distant systems. Then came the lists, planet names with red marks beside them, population numbers, scheduled dates. "This is my brother's plan," she said quietly. Every human world, every human life, all marked for elimination. Jinwoo stared at the floating display. The coffee mug in his hands shook slightly. "Elimination? Complete extermination. My people believe humans are a threat to our expansion, too unpredictable, too creative. We were taught that your species would eventually challenge us if allowed, to grow." The room fell silent, except for the station's air recycler humming in the background. Jinwoo stood up and walked to the small window overlooking the mining field. His shoulders were tense. "How many?" he asked. 14 billion humans across 47 colonies, Hana replied. The number felt like poison in her mouth. Jinwoo turned around. She expected anger, fear, maybe even hatred. Instead, his face showed something else entirely. Determination. "When?" The attacks begin in 6 months. My brother wanted to establish his rule first, then launch what he calls the Great Cleansing. Hana watched Jinwoo process this information. In Zilithian culture, such news would cause panic, rage, or immediate calls for revenge. But this human just nodded slowly, as if accepting a difficult work assignment. "We need to warn people," he said simply. Over the following days, Hana watched Jinwoo work. He did not have advanced Zilithian technology or vast resources. His equipment was old, patched together from different manufacturers. His living space was tiny compared to the palace she grew up in. Yet somehow, he accomplished more than entire departments back home. When the communication array needed upgrading to reach distant human colonies, Jinwoo built new components from mining equipment. When they needed to encrypt their messages, he wrote code that even Zilithian military systems could not break. When food ran low, he grew vegetables in recycled containers using techniques that seemed impossible. "How do you do it?" Hana asked one evening, watching him repair a broken relay with nothing but spare wire and determination. "Do what?" "Make something from nothing. Solve problems that should be impossible." Jinwoo shrugged. "You just try different things until something works. If plan A fails, try plan B. If that fails, make up plan C." This philosophy amazed Hana. Zilithians were taught to follow protocols, to respect hierarchy, to never question established methods. But Jinwoo approached every challenge like a puzzle to solve, rather than a barrier to accept. She began helping him with small tasks. At first, she felt useless. Her royal education had not prepared her for practical work, but Jinwoo was patient, showing her how to use tools, explaining why certain solutions worked better than others. "Your people taught you that humans are primitive," he said one day, while they worked on the communication dish together. "What do you think now?" Hana looked at the improvised but effective equipment surrounding them. Then she looked at Jinwoo, this human who had saved her life without knowing who she was or what she could offer in return. "I think my people are wrong about everything," she said quietly. The message came through encrypted channels 3 weeks after Hana's crash. Prince Taemin sat in his newly claimed throne room, reading reports from across the empire. His sister's escape had become an embarrassment. Worse, some outer colonies were asking questions about the missing princess. "Bring me Kiori," he commanded. The assassin appeared like smoke given form. Tall, wrapped in dark armor that seemed to absorb light, Kiori had never failed a contract in 15 years. Her reputation alone was enough to make enemies surrender. "Your sister lives," Taemin said without ceremony. "She crashed on a mining world in the outer rim. Kill her quietly." Kiori's helmet tilted slightly. "And if she has shared information, then kill whoever helped her too." Meanwhile, on Kepler Station, Jinwoo was teaching Hana how to operate the mining equipment when his proximity alarm started screaming. 3. Ships had just dropped out of hyperspace, running dark with no identification signals. "Pirates?" Hana asked, but her face had gone pale. Jinwoo checked his scanners. The ship designs were unfamiliar, sleek and predatory. "Not pirates. These are military grade." "They found me," Hana whispered. "My brother sent them." The lead ship opened communications. A harsh voice filled the station. "Human, you are harboring a fugitive of the Zilithian Empire. Surrender her now and you will not be harmed." Jinwoo looked at Hana, who was already moving toward the airlock. "I should go," she said. "You have done enough." "Like hell you should." Jinwoo grabbed her arm gently but firmly. "Nobody threatens people at my station." He opened the comm channel. "This is Kepler Station. You're trespassing in human space. Leave now or face the consequences." Laughter came through the speakers. "Human space? You control nothing out here. Stand down." "Last warning," Jinwoo replied calmly. Then he cut the transmission. Hana stared at him. "You cannot fight them. They have advanced weapons, trained soldiers." "Maybe," Jinwoo said, moving to his control panel. "But they don't know this place like I do." The first bounty hunter ship approached the station's docking bay. Jinwoo waited until it was committed to landing, then triggered the mining charges he had placed around the entrance months ago as asteroid breakers. The explosion sealed the bay with tons of rock, trapping the ship inside. "One down," he muttered. "The Remaining ships opened fire, but their energy weapons had trouble penetrating the station's thick asteroid shell. Jinwoo had built his home inside a hollowed-out rock for exactly this kind of protection. Curie's ship landed on the station's surface and began cutting through the hull with industrial lasers. Jinwoo watched the progress on his monitors, calculating timing and angles. "They will be inside in 10 minutes, Hana said, fear creeping into her voice. "Good," Jinwoo replied. "I need them inside." He had spent 3 years modifying this station, not for comfort, but for survival in a dangerous profession. The corridors were lined with emergency airlocks that could seal instantly. The gravity generators could be reversed in sections. The life support system could pump in gases from the mining operation, including some very unpleasant ones. When Curie and her team finally breached the hull, they found themselves in a maze. Every turn led to another corridor. Every room seemed identical. The human had vanished along with their target. "Split up," Curie ordered through her helmet comm. "Find them." That was exactly what Jinwoo wanted to hear. One by one, the hunters fell into his traps. The first stepped into a gravity well that slammed him against the ceiling. The second triggered an airlock that blew him into space. The third got lost in a section where Jinwoo had reversed all the corridor signs. Curie realized too late that she was not hunting a primitive human. She was being hunted by someone who knew every bolt and wire in this place. "Clever," she said aloud, knowing. He could hear her through the intercom system. "But you only delay the inevitable." Jinwoo's voice came from everywhere at once. "Lady, I've been delaying the inevitable my whole life. It's what humans do best." After driving off Curie's first attack, Jinwoo sat at his communication console with a cup of cold coffee and a determination that surprised even him. The station's hull showed scorch marks from the battle, but his equipment still worked. That was all he needed. "You're really going to do this?" Hana asked, watching him adjust the long-range transmitter. "Do what?" "Contact. You're military. Ask for warships and soldiers." Jinwoo shook his head. "That's not how humans work." He opened a channel to the human colony networks, broadcasting on frequencies used by civilians, not military commands. His message was simple. "This is Jinwoo Park, Kepler Station. I have information about a threat to all human colonies. Anyone listening?" The first response came from New Sol Colony, 14 light-years away. A woman's voice crackled through the static. "Jinwoo, this is Dr. Somin Lee at the university here. What kind of threat?" "The big kind," Jinwoo replied. "I'm sending data now." More voices joined the conversation. Engineers from Mars Colony, computer specialists from the research stations around Jupiter, traders, miners, scientists, teachers, ordinary people living ordinary lives across dozens of worlds. Hana watched, in fascination as Jinwoo shared everything. The data crystal's contents, the planned extermination, the timeline for attacks. In Zilithian culture, such information would go through proper military channels, be classified, studied by committees for months. These humans just started solving the problem. "I can hack communication satellites," offered someone from Europa Station. "Give us access to their fleet coordination." "We've got manufacturing facilities here," came a voice from the Belt Mining Consortium. "What kind of equipment do you need?" "My students are working on translation algorithms," Dr. Lee added. "If we can decode their language better, we can predict their movements." Within 6 hours, over 300 humans from 47 colonies had joined the network. They shared everything freely: technical knowledge, resources, personnel, ideas. No one asked for payment or authorization. No one demanded to know Jinwoo's credentials or questioned his story. "This is impossible," Hana said, staring at the communication board showing connections spanning half the galaxy. "How do you coordinate without central command? Without hierarchy?" "We don't coordinate," Jinwoo replied, typing responses to dozens of incoming messages. "We just cooperate." A teenager from the agricultural colonies offered to help analyze Zilithian supply chains. A retired engineer shared designs for improvised weapons that could be built with common materials. Shipping companies volunteered their cargo vessels for evacuation plans. "Look at this," Jinwoo said, showing Hana a message from someone called Hyunwoo on Titan Station. He's never met me, doesn't know if I'm telling the truth, but he's already started organizing refugee shelters just in case. The network grew exponentially. Each person contacted friends, colleagues, family members on other worlds. The human internet, designed for sharing information, became a coordination tool spanning interstellar distances. By the second day, they had infiltrated 3 Zilithian communication networks. By the third day, human traders were reporting unusual military movements in Zilithian space. By the fourth day, someone had figured out how to disrupt Zilithian navigation systems using modified mining equipment. Your brother expects to fight. Scattered primitive colonies, Hannah observed, watching the coordination unfold. He has no idea what he's actually facing. Nope, Jinwoo agreed, accepting an offer of technical assistance from someone he'd never heard of on a world he'd never visited. He thinks humans are just another species to conquer. He doesn't understand we're something else entirely. What are you then? Jinwoo looked at his screen showing hundreds of humans working together across impossible distances, united by nothing more than the knowledge that strangers needed help. We're a network that thinks, he said simply, and right now, we're thinking about how to save ourselves. Hannah realized she was witnessing something her people had never developed, despite all their technology and power: true cooperation without coercion, organization without domination, strength through voluntary unity. Humans were going to win, and they didn't even know it yet. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Daehyun Kim, a communication student on Mars colony, had been studying alien broadcast frequencies as a hobby. When Jinwoo shared Hannah's data crystal contents with the human network, Daehyun noticed something interesting. The Zilithian military uses the same channels for internal communications and public broadcasts, he told the growing group of volunteers during their daily coordination call. If we can crack their encryption, we can hijack their own propaganda system. Hannah watched from Jinwoo's station as dozens of human hackers, programmers, and signal specialists worked together across the galaxy. They shared techniques, split up complex tasks, and solved problems that would have taken Zilithian experts months to figure out. Your people are remarkable, she told Jinwoo. My empire's best cryptographers work in isolation, guarding their methods jealously. These humans share everything. Why wouldn't we? Jinwoo replied, helping coordinate the technical discussions. The more people working on a problem, the faster we solve it. 3 days later, they broke through. Minji, a former military communications officer now working on a farming colony, found the key to Zilithian encryption. The moment she shared it with the network, everything changed. Human specialists began intercepting Prince Taemin's orders to his fleet. They learned about supply routes, troop movements, and, most importantly, the full scope of his extermination plans. The data crystal Hannah carried was just one small part of a massive genocide program. 17 different species marked for elimination, read Dr. Lee from New Seoul Colony as she analyzed the intercepted files. The Krytal bird people, the aquatic Nexari, the crystalline Vorthak. They plan to kill anyone who might eventually challenge Zilithian rule. That's when Yoongi Park, a teenager from the mining colonies, had a brilliant idea. What if we tell them, all these other species, they don't know their targets. The humans didn't just tell them. They did something far more effective. Using captured Zilithian communication systems, they began broadcasting Prince Taemin's own secret files across the galaxy, not as human propaganda, but as official Zilithian military documents. They even used Prince Taemin's own voice, extracted from intercepted communications, to announce the genocide plans to the entire galaxy. The first species to respond were the Krytal. Their bird-like forms made them natural pilots, and within hours of learning about their planned extinction, Krytal fighter squadrons were attacking Zilithian supply convoys. The aquatic Nexari followed next. Their underwater cities had seemed impossible to attack, but now they knew Prince Taemin planned to poison their oceans. Nexari submarines began hunting Zilithian ships like ancient sea monsters. This is incredible, Hannah said, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. 18 species have declared war on my brother in the last 6 hours, but the humans weren't done. Sora Choi, a media specialist from Europa Station, realized they could do more than just reveal military plans. The Zilithian Empire controlled information throughout their territory, but humans had cracked their entire communication network. "We can show their own people what Prince Tamin really is," she suggested during the daily coordination call. Soon, Zilithian citizens were seeing footage of their own military destroying peaceful colonies. They watched Prince Tamin personally ordering the execution of prisoners. They heard him laughing about burning entire worlds. The Empire's propaganda machine, built to spread Tamin's message of Zilithian superiority, became the tool of his downfall. Every screen in Zilithian space now showed the truth about their new emperor. Revolts began on the outer worlds first. Zilithian colonies that had been told they were spreading civilization discovered they were actually supporting mass murder. Local governments turned against Prince Tamin's appointees. "The beautiful irony," Jinwu observed, "is that we're using their own systems against them, their technology, their communication networks, even their emperor's own voice. Within a week, Prince Tamin's empire was fighting wars on dozens of fronts. But the most dangerous enemy wasn't the alien species he had planned to exterminate. It was the truth, spread by humans who understood that information wanted to be free. The galaxy was awakening, and humans had provided the alarm clock. Curie returned with 3 full warships and 50 elite soldiers. She had underestimated this human once, but never again. This time she brought overwhelming force to crush Kepler Station and everyone inside it. The bombardment began at dawn. Energy beams tore through the asteroid's outer shell like it was paper. Jinwu's traps and defenses crumbled under sustained fire from military-grade weapons. The station shook with each impact, sending dust and debris raining from the ceiling. "They're breaking through the main corridor," Hana said, watching the security monitors. Armored figures moved methodically through the smoke, clearing each room with professional precision. Jinwu sat calmly at his control console, fingers dancing across keyboards as he made final adjustments to systems throughout the station. "Good. Let them come." "What are you doing?" Hana asked, noticing the strange readings on his displays. Power was being rerouted from life support, artificial gravity, even the lights. Everything was feeding into the mining equipment. "Something I should have done years ago," Jinwu replied. "This old rock has been my home, but it was always meant to be something else." Curie's voice echoed through the station's speakers. "Human, you have fought well, but this ends now. Surrender. The princess and die quickly, or we will take her from your corpse. Counteroffer," Jinwu said into his microphone. "You leave my station right now and maybe you live through the next 10 minutes. The assassin's laughter was cold as winter. "You have nothing left, human. No weapons, no allies, no hope." "I have something better," Jinwu said quietly. "I have math." Hana looked at his screens more carefully. The numbers made no sense at first, then slowly formed a terrifying pattern. Velocity calculations, trajectory plots, mass and acceleration formulas that hurt to think about. "Jinwu, what have you done?" Kepler Station was built inside a nickel-iron asteroid, Class M, approximately 50 million tons, he explained calmly, while soldiers blasted through the final security door. "For 3 years, I've been secretly installing mining charges throughout the rock, not to break it apart, but to move it." The door exploded inward. Curie stepped through the smoke, her dark armor gleaming under the emergency lights. Behind her came a dozen soldiers, weapons trained on the human and the princess. "Clever. Traps human," Curie said, removing her helmet to reveal a scarred face with cold, intelligent eyes. "But cleverness ends here." Jinwu's hand hovered over a red button on his console. "See, the thing about asteroids is they're basically giant bullets floating in space. All you need is enough push to aim them." Curie's eyes widened as she understood. "You cannot. The acceleration would kill you." "Yeah, probably," Jinwu agreed, "but your brother's flagship is holding position right behind you, and it's a really big target." Through the station's cracked windows, they could see Prince Tamin's massive warship, a kilometer-long symbol of Zilithian power, waiting to witness Hana's execution. "If you launch this rock, you die too," Curie said. But her voice had lost its confidence. "That's the point," Jinwu replied. "Humans don't just fight to win. We fight to make sure the other guy loses. Hana grabbed his arm. There has to be another way. Jinwoo looked at her with sad but determined eyes. The network will continue without me. Your people need to see that humans don't surrender, even when we're beaten. Especially when we're beaten. He pressed the button. The entire asteroid shuddered as thousands of mining charges detonated in sequence. The calculations were perfect. Jinwoo had spent months preparing this moment. 50 million tons of rock and metal began accelerating toward Prince Taemin's flagship at incredible speed. The warship's engines screamed as it tried to escape, but physics is unforgiving. The asteroid struck at 30 kilometers per second, releasing energy equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. Both the flagship and Kepler station vanished in a brief, brilliant star. Across the galaxy, humans watching the feeds fell silent. Their coordinator, their friend, the man who had started their resistance, was gone, but his sacrifice had shaken the Zilithian Empire to its core. Their most powerful warship, destroyed by a single human with mining equipment and unbreakable determination. The message was clear. Humans would never surrender, never give up, never stop fighting for what was right, even if it killed them. The news of Jinwoo's sacrifice spread across human space in hours, not through official military channels or government broadcasts, but through the same network he had helped build. Personal messages, voice recordings, data packets shared between friends and strangers alike. Minho Chen, a cargo pilot traveling between the outer colonies, was the first to break the silence on the human communication network. His voice was rough with emotion as he spoke to thousands of listeners across dozens of worlds. Jinwoo Park gave everything to protect one alien princess and show the galaxy who we really are, he said. Now it's our turn to show them what his sacrifice meant. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Human colonies that had been preparing defensive measures suddenly shifted to offensive planning. But this wasn't the organized military response Prince Taemin expected. It was something far more dangerous, controlled chaos guided by collective intelligence. On Europa Station, engineering students began designing weapons that could be built in any workshop using common materials. On the agricultural worlds, farmers shared techniques for disrupting supply chains and hiding resistance cells. On Mars Colony, Dr. Sumin Lee coordinated with teachers across human space to spread tactical knowledge as quickly as possible. But the humans didn't keep this knowledge to themselves. They shared everything with the alien species they had awakened to Prince Taemin's genocide plans. Young Ho Kim, a former military instructor now working as a mining supervisor, found himself teaching Cretal bird people how to use their natural flight abilities for hit-and-run attacks. Your wings make you perfect for guerrilla warfare, he explained to a group of Cretal warriors via holographic communication. Hit fast, disappear into the sky, strike somewhere else before they can respond. The aquatic Nexari learned underwater, sabotage techniques from human submarine crews. The crystalline Vorthak discovered how to use their natural camouflage abilities to infiltrate Zilithian facilities. Species that had never worked together began coordinating attacks using human communication methods. Meanwhile, Princess Hana had survived Jinwoo's sacrifice by escaping in a hidden emergency pod just before the asteroid impact. She found herself rescued by a human cargo ship, whose crew treated her not as royalty, but as a fellow refugee. The experience completed her transformation from sheltered princess to hardened rebel leader. "Call me the Exile Queen," she told the growing coalition of resistance fighters during their first major strategy meeting. The title fit perfectly, no longer Zilithian royalty, but not quite human either. She had become something new, shaped by both worlds. Her rebel headquarters moved constantly, using human techniques for staying hidden. Instead of a fixed base that could be attacked, she operated from cargo ships, mining stations, even agricultural facilities. The humans had taught her that the best fortress was one that could relocate at a moment's notice. The coalition's first major victory came when Shungmin Park, a communications specialist from the Belt Mining Consortium, figured out how to hack Zilithian automated defense systems. Within days, 3 Zilithian fortress worlds found their own defensive satellites turning against them. "This is impossible," General Minji reported to Prince Taemin from the Imperial Command Center. They coordinate attacks across hundreds of light years, but we can't find their command structure. Every time we destroy one cell, two more appear. Because there is no command structure, the Exile Queen explained during a broadcast that somehow appeared on every screen in Zilithian space. There are just free beings working together because it's the right thing to do. Something your empire never understood. The rebellion grew exponentially. Human traders carried messages and supplies between resistance cells. Human engineers taught alien species how to build weapons from farming equipment. Human teachers spread tactical knowledge through refugee camps and hidden bases. Prince Tamin's mighty empire, built on fear and hierarchy, found itself fighting an enemy that operated on completely different principles. Every attack they made created more rebels. Every victory cost them more than defeat would have. The humans had given the galaxy something more dangerous than weapons or warriors. They had given it hope, organization, and the unshakable belief that ordinary people working together could topple any tyrant. The rebellion was no longer about survival. It had become about freedom itself. The final confrontation came not through battle but through an invitation. Prince Tamin, desperate to end the rebellion that was tearing his empire apart, sent a message across all channels. "Sister, meet me aboard the Eternal Dominion. Come alone, and we will settle this as family should." The Exile Queen knew it was a trap, but she also knew it was an opportunity. The humans had taught her that sometimes the best way to win was to walk straight into the enemy's stronghold and show them they had already lost. "So you don't have to do this," Jisoo Lee told her over the communication link. The human resistance coordinator had become one of her closest advisors. "We can keep fighting from the shadows." "No," Hana replied from her small transport ship approaching the massive fortress. "This ends today, one way or another." The Eternal Dominion stretched 15 kilometers from bow to stern, a monument to Zilithian engineering and imperial power. Its weapons could destroy planets, its shields could stop entire fleets. Prince Tamin had built it as the ultimate symbol of his rule. But as Hana docked in the main bay, she noticed something interesting. The crew moved with nervous energy. Guards whispered to each other when they thought no one was watching. Even on his own flagship, Prince Tamin's authority was cracking. The throne room was exactly as Hana remembered from their childhood. Vast, cold, designed to make visitors feel small and powerless. Prince Tamin sat on their father's throne, wearing the crown that should have been hers, surrounded by the few advisors who still believed in his vision. "Hello, sister," he said without warmth. "You look different." "I learned some things," Hana replied, walking calmly across the polished floor. She wore simple clothes now, practical gear suitable for someone who worked rather than ruled. About power, about leadership, about what it means to be strong. "Consorting with humans has made you weak," Tamin sneered. "You've forgotten what we are, what we're meant to become." "I've remembered what we're supposed to be," Hana corrected. "What our people were before fear and hatred poisoned them." Tamin gestured to the tactical displays surrounding his throne. Red markers showed Zilithian territory, shrinking daily as more worlds rebelled. "Look at what your human friends have done. They've turned the galaxy into chaos." "No," Hana said, producing a small communication device. "They've turned it into something beautiful. Watch." The holographic display filled the throne room with images from across the galaxy. Kratul and Nexari working together to build refugee settlements. Vorthak engineers teaching human children about crystal technology. Former Zilithian colonies celebrating their independence with festivals that included dozens of species. "This is what you're fighting against," Hana said. "Not conquest or domination, but cooperation. Communities where different species share knowledge, resources, and friendship freely." "Disgusting," General Minji spat from beside the throne. "Weakness, masquerading as virtue." "Is it?" Hana asked. "Then explain this." She activated another channel. The display showed military reports from the past week. 18 major Zilithian bases had fallen, not to overwhelming force but to coordinated strikes by mixed-species teams using improvised weapons and human tactical methods. Humans taught them something you never understood, Hana continued. That 10 species working together are stronger than one species trying to dominate all the others. Prince Tamin stood up, his face flushing with anger. They are insects, lesser beings. We gave them order, civilization, purpose. We gave them slavery, Hana replied quietly. And humans showed them freedom. The communication device chimed. Jisoo Lee's voice filled the throne room. Exile Queen, we're receiving surrender requests from 47 Zilithian colony governments. They want to join the Free Worlds Coalition. More voices joined in, resistance leaders from across the galaxy reporting victories, liberated worlds declaring independence, former Zilithian officers switching sides and bringing their ships with them. Prince Tamin looked around his throne room and saw the truth reflected in his advisors' faces. The Empire was already gone. His mighty fortress was just an expensive tomb floating in space, surrounded by a galaxy that had moved on without him. You haven't won anything, he said desperately. I still have this ship, the Imperial fleet, loyal. World? Tamin? Hana interrupted gently. It's over. As if summoned by her words, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The tactical displays showed the loyal Imperial fleet breaking formation as ship after ship switched sides. Even his own crew was abandoning him. Prince Tamin collapsed back onto his throne, finally understanding what humans had taught the galaxy. That true power comes not from fear, but from inspiring others to choose cooperation over conquest. The Zilithian Empire didn't fall to superior weapons or overwhelming force. It fell because humans had shown the galaxy a better way to live, and once people had tasted freedom, they would never go back to chains.